Good morning, everyone. My name is Greg McLaughlin. I'm the Chief and State Fire Warden with the New Jersey Forest Fire Service. The Forest Fire Service is part of the Department of Environmental Protection. We're here today in Medford Township, not far from the site of the Flatiron wildfire, which started very early morning hours this morning at 12:04 a.m. Crews responded to the fire very quickly within 20 minutes. At that time when they arrived, the fire had consumed about 20 acres and was burning in the southwest direction, being pushed by a light northeast wind. The fire was burning towards some homes in the Elderberry Court area, and crews worked very quickly and very competently to get the fire under control in the context that they were able to move the fire away from the homes. And so that work was successful, and we're going to talk more about that here today with the folks that I have with us. We have Kathy Berger, who's the Township Manager in Medford Township. We have Jim DeVerso, who's Medford Township Police Lieutenant. We also have Rob Dovey, who's the Medford Township Fire Chief. With Forest Fire Service, I have Sean Judy, who's the Division Warden for our Central Division, and I have Tom Gerber, who's the Incident Commander on this fire and who also lives in Medford Township. So first, I'd like to take a minute to thank everybody. These events are successful and safe because of the good coordination and cohesion that we have as a state agency with our local and county partners. There are resources here from Burlington County and Camden County, local fire companies from around the area, State Police Office of Emergency Management, Department of Transportation. All of us work together to make this successful. And so thank you for taking time to let us tell you about this and keep the residents safe. So right now I'd like to turn it over to Sean Judy.
Good morning, everyone. So early this morning, our crews arrived on scene, identified the location of the fire, and quickly realized that the fire was spreading rapidly toward the structures. At that point in time, because it was a wildland urban interface situation, that is defined as an area in which the wildland fuels meet the structures within the forest. So that was identified very quickly. Structure protection was quickly put into place. The residents were actually protected in place and remained in their structures. So from there, we quickly, worked with our structural firefighting fire companies, getting them in place. They quickly, accessed the backyards and gave a lot of space for the wildland firefighters from the New Jersey Forest Fire Service to quickly work and conduct backfires and burnout operations to actually move the fire away from the structures. So I want to take a moment to reach out to those people that are out there. Defensible space is certainly the key to protecting your structures, and the work you do now will certainly, prevent the worst case scenario in the event that this happens in your area. Thank you.
As said before, I'm Tom Gerber. I was the incident commander and the incident commander for this Flatiron fire. Flatiron fire is burning literally right behind us in an area of pinelands forest that hasn't burned since 1954. So it has a very dense loading of what we call fuel. Lots of pine trees that are very, very dense. Their spacing is very close. So it's a very explosive area of the Pine Barrens. I've been the warden here for over 40 years, and it's an area that's always been of concern. It's developed in my career, and we have a housing development there, several of them. So we engaged the fire in an indirect tactic last night. We had fire coming towards the properties on Elderberry, so we did our indirect attack, was actually working right in the folks' backyards. So we had interactions with the residents at those homes, explained what was going on, how they could help, because they were actually protected in place in their homes. So they had garden hoses and everything and could assist us with any of our operations if needed. So everything went very smoothly. As you can feel the wind blowing out of the northeast. It's going to be very strong the rest of the day, so that'll dictate a lot of mop up, putting out hot spots close to any structures. You know, we have some pretty good natural breaks. We have some pretty good man-made breaks in the Jackson Road, which is historically a very good fire break for us. So we're continuing those operations, and just a little while I'm going to get up in a helicopter and survey it from the air and make sure everything is where we need it to be. 20% contained, about 220 acres of pineland forest and wildland urban interface.
Good morning, everyone. Jim DeVerso, Lieutenant with the Medford Township Police Department. On our side, on the police side, you know, we work with forestry, we work with the local fire departments, residents. We put some things out on social media to make sure that our residents are aware of what's going on regarding traffic patterns, closures, things of that nature. Currently at this time, Jackson Road, which is just to our west, is closed at Gravelly Hollow Road down through the St. James Gate area, which is almost like where the dirt road starts. Residents have been contacted, as previously spoken about, in regards to the way to get in and the way to get out. There's been no immediate threats to any of these residents, but we're working with them as well as different agencies that are here to make sure they can do their normal operations day to day. At this time, we're just going to manage our Facebook postings and other social media to make sure if there's anything that's needed by the residents to contact us directly, and we'll manage that resource or emergency as needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Chief?
Good morning, Chief Robert Dovey, Medford Fire and EMS, Medford Office of Emergency Management. As everybody said this morning, a little after midnight, we were dispatched to assist the New Jersey Forest Fire Service for a wildland urban interface assignment through coordination between Burns County fire coordinators and our mutual aid partners and our volunteer members here at in Medford Fire and EMS. We were able to deploy our wildland urban interface structural task force assignment. We put fire trucks in just about every driveway in front of every single house, stretch some lines to provide some structural protection to the back of the houses. As I said, we're going to continue to work with our partners here. We'll continue to push out information via social media, continue to work with our law enforcement partners. Thank you.
So we can take questions at this time if you would like. I would just like to ask that if we could just go from right to left, just to keep it a little bit orderly.
I have some friends that live on Elderberry. They've sent me some pictures. Sounds like some sheds may have been destroyed, some pool coverings may have been burnt. Can you just talk a little bit about what while you've been able to contain majority of that, what damage may have been caused because of this?
So there was a outbuilding in the middle of the forest away from the homes, some type of a gazebo or whatever that nobody was aware it was even back in the forest. It wasn't actually connected to a home, so that was destroyed in the fire.
And can you explain why it's best or potentially safest to keep people in their homes while you guys are doing your job, just so I can understand that a little bit better?
Here in this fire-prone forest that we're in, everything is moving very quickly. It can move in a lot of directions in like 10 minutes. So in the case of this fire, it was best to keep them right there. They had very good, what we call defensible space, and they had a nice environment. If they were to try to evacuate, it would just make mass confusion trying for the fire services to get in and protect the homes. So it's best for this particular fire to protect them in place.
Final question, any injuries to firefighters or anyone at this point this morning?
No injuries at all.
Thank you.
So,
Marcus?
How many homes exactly were affected? And just that question right there. Do you have a number? 10, 12?
It was 20 homes.
20
Yep.
homes?
40, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry, 40.
40 homes, okay. And then you have 20% containment now. What's the overall containment area? How big is that? And what's your goal in containment by the end of the day?
Yeah, sure. So right now we have 20% containment. We do have our arms around the fire. That containment number is a measure of how confident we are with all of those perimeter lines and roads. Some of those perimeter lines are actually canals and streams. So we want to make sure they're going to be strong enough to hold that fire within that strategic planned area. That strategic planned area is approximately 220 acres. Right now, we estimate that the fire's actually consumed about 120 acres of forest. So throughout the day today, we want to see the remainder of those fuels that have not burned, that are inside that containment area, be consumed. That way we know that over the next couple days, as we have increased winds, warm temperatures, low humidities, all elements of weather that affect fire behavior and can increase fire behavior intensity, we know that the fire is going to stay within that containment area. And then through today, as we continue to strengthen those control perimeter lines, we'll do that with bulldozers. We'll do that by putting water along the containment line to diminish hotspots. We'll expect to see our containment number go up significantly.
Okay, and then a two-part question. You know, you're still dealing with the Allen Road fire, obviously your service, and then now
That's
this
correct.
pops up overnight. So how thin stretched are your services right now?
Yeah, so we have a couple things going on. It's been a little bit of a long week with some long nights and some long days, and we're seeing some higher temperatures that we're not really quite acclimated to yet. So we're starting to see some fatigue set in, and as we recognize that, we'll rotate crews in from other areas that aren't as busy. Again, we've had good support from our partners here to provide us with food, water, drinks, air-conditioned areas to get out of the weather, out of the sun, out of the heat, and to rehabilitate. So we're stretched thin. We cover the entire, as an agency, we cover the entire state for all vegetative fires. But we've been doing it for over 100 years, and we have specialized equipment that's built just for this job, and we have some of the best trained and most experienced firefighters in the country, hands down.
And just a message to the public, while you have this about, you know, fire safety and being aware that this is just a very real danger, and these two back-to-back wildfires are an example of that.
Yeah, so typically the spring of the year, the month of April and a little bit into May, that's the peak wildfire season in New Jersey. That's predominantly because the deciduous vegetation that has soft leaves on it hasn't leafed out yet, and the sun is getting stronger, the days are getting longer, the fuels, the pine needles and leaves on the forest floor, they dry out quickly. All fires start on the forest floor and eventually move up through the shrubs and into the treetops, and then spread as what we call rolling crown fires, right? So what we're seeing now, even though all of that deciduous vegetation is leafed out and full of moisture, it's been really dry. It's been several weeks without significant rainfall, and so we're seeing what we consider to be a summer fire season now.
Meteorologists from the National Weather Service in Mount Holly have told me that what you said normally, that May is kind of the end of the fire season, and they're also saying that they're seeing the effects of climate change. What are you seeing? Do you echo those thoughts? Are you seeing a longer fire season nowadays?
Yeah, so there was a climate report that was just released that did indicate that we're seeing fire season being extended by 3 to 5 days earlier in the year and up to 10 days later in the year. And we feel that that's accurate in what we're seeing. We're seeing the fire season window of mid-March to mid-May start in February or early March, and then here we are into June. You look at last year, our large fires started occurring on Father's Day, which was June 19th, and we had fires into July. Just want to point out that year to date, the Forest Fire Service has responded to over 2,000 incidents statewide. 1,400 of those incidents were wildfires, and fires in New Jersey now, in that period of time, have burned 26,000 acres.
How does this summer, well, almost summer, compare to previous years? This time period, you're dealing with a lot right now.
Yeah, so this is definitely one of the busier years. This is our 9th major fire this year. Major fires we consider to be any fires over 100 acres in size. And, you know, typically in a year, we'll see 3 or 4 major fires. So it's definitely a busier year this year. But I have to point out that, you know, it's not always the largest fires that can cause the most damage or the most problems. Today, last night, early this morning, we were really lucky. This is a highly developed area, and there's a lot of interface here. There's a lot of people that live here, and you know, there's a high potential for property damage, structure damage.
Can you just recap the acreage of this fire and the Bass River fire, like what you're dealing with right now at the same time?
Yeah, sure. So the Bass River fire is reaching 100% containment and is 5,950 acres. That fire, crews will be reduced there to get rest, to be able to come and help here. That we'll leave crews there for several weeks to continue to what we call mop up, which is to put water on any hot spots that may still be lingering or burning. And here we're trying to reach that 100% containment by strengthening those control lines around the fire. Okay. Right now, again, the fire has consumed, actually burned, within this 220 acre area, has burned about 120 acres. We want the fire to burn the remainder of that acreage within the containment area, so that as the wind picks up today, we don't have burning embers coming out of the fire area.
How long do you anticipate that will take to get to 100% containment?
Tom?
I would shoot for by the end of today, the close of business today, we should have it wrapped, 100% contained. So probably close to 6 o'clock this evening.
And I do have one more question. Okay. All right. Can you just describe, you talked about structural, Sean, I think structural protection, I forget what the word, can you describe what that means and how that looks like?
Certainly. We work and we train with our partners in the structural fire service to provide structure protection. So while we're operating in the forest, initiating backfires, burnout operations, and conducting an indirect attack, the fire companies, the structural firefighters, are actually engaged protecting the structures and improved property that are currently threatening the fire.
So they're around the houses?
They back up down the driveways, they stretch hose line, charge their lines, and they're actually protecting the structure from embers, spot fires. They're keeping an eye on that improved property. That gives us the ability to work and, in essence, sort of hand that part over to them.
You said that residents need to keep a distance?
Excuse me, ma'am?
You said residents needed to keep a distance, like to keep an eye on?
So we have a lot of programs where we actually attempt to educate the public to actually work ahead of time, constructing defensible space around their structures, removing that vegetation that threatens their home, and actually giving us, adequate defensible space so in an event like this we can operate and have a little room to work.
Thank you.
Good. Do you have a question?
Yeah, actually, it's more of a comment. I just want to thank you all very much. I live on Elderberry Drive, and you guys came door to door last night, ringing the doorbell, and I think our shed was the one that burned. But I want to thank you all very much for the work you do.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for cooperating and being mindful of the fact that we're working and it's dangerous. So we appreciate it, and we appreciate again to the residents all the offerings of food, coffee, water, access to their property. It's always helpful to have good engagement with our residents. I mean, our job is to protect our residents, so we appreciate that.